my name is Aura, and I'm the lead designer at Animal Justice Project. Now, today, I'll be reflecting back on our first year with Engaging Networks and how this partnership had actually benefited our fundraising and advocacy efforts over the past 12 months. Oh, it's worked. Yay. So, Animal Justice Project is a UK-based non-profit animal rights organization. Our mission is to bring an end to animal agriculture, and we do this by focusing on hard-hitting undercover investigations, campaigns to effect change, as well as outreach events and actions to raise awareness. Now, because we're a small organization, and I mean small, we're 12 people in total, with only 2 of us full-time. Every one of us pitches in when we're needed, regardless of our official roles. So this is why I'm standing before you here today, not as a campaigner, nor a fundraiser, nor an IT person. We don't actually have an IT department, but as a graphic designer who ended up learning how to build things on Engaging Networks on the job. So to give you a bit of a background, this was originally our setup. So we used Salesforce for our supporter database. We used MailChimp as our email marketing platform and also database. We used DonorBox for donations, Webflow forms for our advocacy pages because our website runs on the Webflow platform, and Zapier to connect it all together. But then we were introduced to Engaging Networks and everything changed. So, signing up to Engaging Networks was a major decision for us. It meant investing a significant amount of money, as well as setting time and resources aside for implementation. But we all felt that it was a necessary step towards growing our organization, streamlining our workflow, and generally making our lives a hell of a lot easier. So we decided to go for it. Now, because of our budgetary constraints, we didn't realistically have the option to outsource any work. And this meant that we needed to do as much as possible in-house and use all the features available to us to maximize the benefits of Engaging Networks. It was a daunting prospect. So we basically went from this original setup, which was at times tricky to maintain and update, especially when things started to go wrong and we couldn't quite pinpoint where the problem originated from, to this. And it was just so much better. Everything was consolidated into a single platform, and it all worked absolutely seamlessly. So 1 year ago, we launched the following on Engaging Networks. We had a single new supporter database, a broadcast with we launched with broadcasts with a new template and 20 custom content blocks. We launched 10 advocacy pages, 22 donation pages, 7 membership pages, and an email sign-up form. Now, I also attended last year's conference, and I attended as many sessions as possible, took so many notes, and put together an extensive list of all the features that I thought we should use to make the most of Engaging Networks. And I then reported back to my teammates, and we decided to prioritize these. Now, I can say that it took 3 of us around 5 months to set up these basics. And we did it all in-house, obviously with ongoing help from, shout out to Michael, not sure where Michael is, and of course, Engaging Network support. The 2 exceptions being the initial data migration and structure, where we worked with Ant from Actually Data Analytics, shout out to Ant, and the new email sign-up form, which we required help from the company who originally built our website. So I'm proud to say that in just under a year, we've managed to implement pretty much all the features we intended to use. The only one missing now is Next Suggested Gift, which we're going to crack. And that's based on the list that we put together from last year's conference, which isn't bad at all when you consider that we were doing all of this in addition to our regular jobs, which are kind of stressful as well. There are only 3 of us doing it, and we were doing it part-time. So let's start with broadcasts. Setting up broadcasts was a priority because at the time we were still paying for MailChimp, and so we were quite eager to migrate everything over to keep costs down. So what do? We built a new template and custom blocks, used marketing automations for our welcome journey, something we'd never done before. We cleaned up our mailing list and improved our email deliverability as a result, again, something that we should have been done but never did. We segmented our audience for better targeted communications. We conducted A/B testing regularly, and we set up monthly meetings to review broadcast performance. So just to give you an idea, we generally send out between 5 and 10 broadcasts per month, not including the variations that we send out to the segmented sections of our audience. Now, each of our campaigns, as you can see, has a unique identity, which includes its own color scheme and sometimes logo. But in addition to that, we also have a standard brand palette of 5 key colors that we use for general communications. So while it was important for me to replicate as closely as possible the template we'd been using on MailChimp, since my teammates were familiar with it, but also because it matched the style of our website, I also wanted to improve the functionality of it to make the process as painless as possible for everyone. So this is an example of a small improvement that's made a big difference for everyone. With the help of Engaging Network support, shout out to Michael and John on this one, we devised a way to easily change the overall color scheme of a broadcast using only 2 drop-downs. Now, whereas before, my teammates had to excruciatingly go in and change every single text link color and every single button color for each broadcast, now they could simply select a global color scheme and all the links and buttons automatically change like magic. A huge time saver. And also it eliminated the issue of everyone having to remember which hex value was associated with which campaign, and also the human error factor where, the color was kind of close but not quite right. So now we can easily change a broadcast color scheme from our default color, which happens to be Satsuma, also known as orange, to green, also known as grasshopper, or to a campaign-specific color, in this case, our Fishing Hurts campaign. So note that the donation image still needs to be manually changed, that it's a static graphic, and I've created a variety of these for each campaign and color scheme. So when it came to creating the custom blocks for our broadcasts, I asked my teammates what layout features they used the most frequently and started with those. And then we slowly built up over time a library of custom blocks that everyone was happy with. And then I added these to the main template. By the way, you'll see that each block has a meaningful image and title so that they're easy to identify when someone's building a broadcast. And it's small things like that that take up a little bit of time at the beginning, but saves a lot of time in the long run. So was it worth all the effort? The answer is a resounding yes. Over the past year, our open rates have improved by 69%, and our click rates have increased by 171%, which is not a bad return on investment. Also worth noting, everyone on the team has reported how much easier and quicker it is to create broadcasts and how much better they look. Now moving on to advocacy. Obviously, as an animal rights organization, online activism is very important to us and our supporters. So what did we do this past year? We had to replace all our old advocacy pages. This included petitions, email to targets, and open letters. We improved our supporter journey by linking sharing and donation pages to our advocacy pages, and we created values-based hand raisers to grow our supporter base. Now, these are just 3 of our current action pages, and again, you can see the color schemes carry through for each campaign. Now, once I'd set up all the campaign-specific page templates and created the graphics, all we needed to do really was for the campaigns manager to take over and start building our new advocacy pages. And this is where we realized how much easier it was to generate new pages on Engaging Networks. We could simply duplicate an existing one, swap over the template and the header graphics, and even use shared library components to speed things up even more. So all of a sudden, creating something like a progress bar on a petition page no longer required HTML coding, which is how we used to do it, but could simply be dropped in as a display widget and customized. Absolutely brilliant. It was also so much easier to chain pages together to improve our supporter journey and encourage donations following actions that our supporters had already taken. More on this later. And a few months back, our lead gen fundraisers started using values-based hand raisers to grow our mailing list. Now, these have proven really effective in attracting new supporters. So what does that mean exactly? Well, since we've been on Engaging Networks, our mailing list has grown by a whopping 90%. Hand raisers accounted for 56.5% of new supporters, and advocacy pages accounted for 39.5%. Now, fundraising, as we all know, is vital to every NGO's survival and enables us to continue to do the work we do. In our case, it was also the trickiest part to get right. Not only did we need to create all new donation pages, but we also needed to ensure that our historical data, as well as future transactional data, could be consolidated into an up-to-date and future-proof database with reliable reporting. So over the past year, I've worked alongside our third person, who's the fundraising development manager, to create new fundraising pages and in so doing, hopefully increase our donations. So again, we started with importing our historical data and set up our database structure, again with Ant's help from Actually Data Analytics. We replaced all our embedded donor box widgets on our web pages with recurring and single donation pages, and this is where Michael really helped us figure out here the best way to do this. We replaced our membership web pages. We created cost-specific fundraising pages, refined our donation forms, implemented upsell lightboxes, and set up one-click pages to use for broadcasts. So as you can see, it's not very subtle. We have a match funding initiative going on this year. You can't really miss it. And here again, we found that the process of creating pages was pretty much effortless once we figured out how to do the forms. And going on from this, from an embedded third-party app into actually having fully functional donation pages was definitely the way to go for us. And it was just as easy to set up our membership pages because effectively they're donation pages as well. And these are just 3 of the 7 levels we offer. So working through the to-do list that I gathered from last year's conference, we thought that upsell lightboxes would be the first things that we could implement relatively easily on our donation pages so that we could encourage supporters to either increase their recurring gift or convert their single donation to a recurring one. We then started setting up cost-specific pages, which enabled us to raise funds for unique situations, such as covering court case fees. Now, these proved to be extremely effective and really quick to set up. And in both of these cases, we reached our targets within days of sending out a broadcast, which was amazing. Now, as part of our ongoing reporting, reviewing, and refining strategy, we decided to run a test last August, which coincided with the launch of a new campaign. So what we did is we changed the values on the campaign's donation pages from £5, £10, and £25 to £7, 18, and 27, just to see what would happen. We also changed the order in which these values appeared. So we decided to start with the highest value rather than the lowest, and the default remained the middle value. Now, this proved to be a great tactic to effortlessly increase donation amounts, and we've now applied this across all our fundraising pages. Now, in addition, you can see we also implemented one-click donation pages to encourage supporters who'd given previously to do so again at the click of a button. And this is where we reap what we've sown. In 1 year, with Engaging Networks, our recurring donations increased by 35%, and our single donations grew by 379%. Right? Thank you. I did actually double check these because I didn't quite believe them, and I had them run the numbers quite a few times, and I've been assured that they have the reporting to back this up, because I thought everyone's going to think I'm lying. And it's just embarrassing because no one else with me. Now, our average recurring gift value went up by 9%, and our average single gift value increased by 25%. And going back to the upsell lightboxes, our recurring increase upsells achieved a conversion rate of 31%, whereas single to recurring upsells achieved a conversion rate of 3%. So obviously there's a bit of work to be done there. So what have we learned over the past year? Make a to-do list. Prioritize and discuss with your teammates what's realistic and what isn't. Get the basics done first. Improvements and additional features can follow. Clean data is essential for accurate reporting and list health, and it impacts things like email deliverability, for example. This I stand by, the following one: report, review, refine, and repeat. Just because you've completed a page doesn't mean you can forget about it and move on to something else. You need to look at the reporting, see what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, and try to improve things so that you hit those targets. And learn all you can by consulting the Supportal, doing academy courses, attending webinars, attending the conference if you can, and asking others. The EN community is fantastic. Obviously, EN support is brilliant, and your onboarding success person is your hero. And finally, don't suffer alone. know when to ask for help, because someone out there somewhere will know how to do what you're trying to do. And so it's a happy anniversary for us. While it's still early days and it's obviously still a work in progress, we have no doubt that taking that leap of faith last year by signing up to Engaging Networks was the right decision for us. Our supporters are now more engaged and action-oriented than ever. Our number of donors is on the rise, and the amount they donate is increasing, and again, particularly important because of our match funding initiative this year. And most importantly, as a result, we can do more for the animals. So thank you so much. Please feel free to contact me if you'd like to chat about anything I've covered today in more detail. And you can find out more about our work on the usual socials. Just look up Animal Justice Project, or you can scan the QR code. Thank you very much. No questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aura. Well, I'm afraid we've got a couple of questions coming through in the app.
I'll try to answer them, but bear in mind, I'm one of 3 people, 2 of which aren't here. So I'll do my best.
First question relates to your team. How many of your team members were involved in onboarding to EN, and how many are using it now? What skills did you and your team need to have to be successful using Engaging Networks?
Oh my God, a lot of... Okay, wait. So pretty much everyone was on board initially because everyone had what to know about it, including our director. But then it became very clear that not everyone wanted to spend time working with Engaging Networks. So right now what we've got is we basically have our campaigner, our lead gen fundraiser, our fundraiser manager, basically, the campaigns manager, and myself. That's it.
And were there any kind of specialist skills that were required to set up with the system?
Obviously, I'm a graphic designer, so I've been helping with the graphics, but also because I'm a bit of a nerd, I quite enjoyed looking at the code behind the scenes and learning a bit of HTML, and sort of, I found that very appealing and very sort of satisfying to do. But at the end of the day, I mean, Engaging Networks is pretty much set up for anyone to use, and because even the broadcasts were quite familiar for everyone to use because I built the template in a way that it looked like the MailChimp template. So the transition was quite easy for my teammates, but also because it was a lot more intuitive to use than MailChimp. And again, it enabled us to add functionality that we didn't have, like changing the global color scheme. It's ended up being better. So no special skills at all required, apart from obviously the graphic design bit, which I've helped with. But otherwise, no. Everyone just cracked on with it.
Excellent. Is it safe to assume that most of the pages and emails that you've created have just been using the standard templates, and then you've just applied your wonderful graphic design skills to it?
Yeah, we basically just started with the default templates and then built up on them and customized them. So again, with obviously a lot of the campaign-specific colors, and the fonts as well was very important because they're external pages, so we needed to ensure that they looked familiar to someone who was familiar with our website, so we didn't want them to get a complete culture clash when they went from our website, clicked on donate, and then ended up in a page that looked completely different. So we tried to apply sort of consistent look and feel to the Engaging Networks pages to sort of minimize the culture shock between the two. But yeah, everyone's basically said that it works fantastically well. And obviously we've got the numbers to prove that it's working.
Excellent. And I think you may be relieved to know, I think there's just one more question, Aura. Have you any feedback from supporters that they don't like the upsell light boxes or find them distracting?
No, not at all. In fact, I mean, we haven't had any feedback specifically about the upsell light boxes, but again, because we've got a really good conversion rate on them, we can sort of see that they're working. They're bringing in better donations, and especially with the recurring gifts, which was the important one, and that's what we're basically pushing for, is recurring gifts rather than single gifts. In terms of issues that supporters did have, initially, when we created the donation pages, we offered both recurring and single donations on a single page. And that caused confusion for people. And we had a lot of people who thought they were making a single donation, not realizing they were giving a recurring donation, and then ended up having to contact us to cancel their recurring donation. And that happened a bit too often for our liking. And so we decided to then, with Michael's help, to split each donation page into two so that we had a recurring page and a single donation page. And they pretty much look identical. You can't really tell they're different pages, apart from the fact that it makes it very clear that, you know, this is a monthly gift and this is a one-off gift, and we have it everywhere. So you can't miss it. It's in the text, it's in the button as well. Before you actually commit, it will say monthly, you know, with a value, as opposed to one-off with a value. And that's eliminated all those problems that we had initially. So there haven't been any people contacting us since saying, oh God, I made a recurring gift, didn't intend to do that. That's completely eliminated that, which is why we needed Michael's help to sort out that, because we wanted to push recurring gifts, understanding that most people want to do one-off gifts, but at the same time, we didn't want to confuse people either and create sort of a bad experience for them.
Lovely. Got one more question.
What?
And I think this is a great question actually to finish on, considering it's you know, your 1 year anniversary.
Yay.
Bit of reflection.
Not getting a divorce yet.
What didn't go well in the beginning of the migration? How did you overcome it?
Oh, yeah. It was quite hard. I mean, I think Ant will attest to that. It was quite difficult to get the historical supported data into engaging networks. There were a few blips and blops along the way, but we got there in the end. I think we still have a few residual historical supported data that we can't bring into engaging networks because they were done on PayPal years ago. And so we're sort of just waiting for this to roll over, and eventually everyone will be on board onto the database. So that still has to be sort of monitored and uploaded manually. But otherwise, everything is captured. Yay.
Excellent. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.